If you've ever seen a mind-blowing underwater macro photo and immediately thought to yourself, well, I can never afford the gear to do that myself, this is the video for you. The pricings on professional underwater camera setups just felt like this massive wall that I just couldn't climb. A single aluminium housing can cost 2 to 3 times the price of the camera that you're putting inside it. And that's before you get to the lens and the port and all the lighting. Macro felt like an entire world of photography was being kept locked away from me. I tried my best to capture these smaller animals using the 28 to 70mm lens and cropping in to give a macro look, but it just wasn't the same. I was close to giving up. But after weeks of research, I stumbled across a combination of gear that changed everything. I'm talking about pairing a specific Sony lens with a specific underwater housing port, creating a setup that produces truly professional results. The kinds of images that I thought were impossible for me to create, but at a fraction of the cost. And in this video, I'm going to break down every single part of it. The whole system is built around one piece of glass, the Sony 90mm f2.8 macro lens. If you shoot on Sony, this lens is pretty much the gold standard for macro photography, both underwater and on land. Now, there's a few reasons why it's perfect for macro photography. The first being that it gives you a perfect one-to-one magnification. All this means is that the image that the lens projects onto your camera sensor is the exact same size as the subject is in real life. That's the definition of a true macro lens, and it's that capability that allows you to capture insane details within tiny subjects. Secondly, the 90mm focal length gives you a lot more distance to work with, which is really important when shooting underwater. A lot of these smaller marine critters are incredibly skittish, and if you shove your lens in their face, they're going to be gone before you can even get a shot off. This lens gives you enough space to frame your shot without scaring your subject away. Finally, the image quality is just fantastic. It's a Sony G lens and it's razor sharp. The built-in image stabilization is also amazing, and it really helps with those little wobbles and sways as you're trying to keep still underwater. Now, you might have heard that it's a little slow to focus under low light, which is kind of true. But as long as you've got a pretty decent focus light, that problem goes away, and this is going to be the perfect lens for you. Honestly, for anyone that's serious about doing macro photography with a Sony body, this is going to be the lens to get. It is a bit of an investment, but it pays you back with every shot that you take. Okay, so you've got the perfect lens, but how do you take this underwater without dropping more than 3 grand on just a metal box? Well, that's where the second hero of this setup comes in, the Seafrog's underwater housing, and more importantly, the port that they make specifically for this 90mm lens. Let's be real, high-end housings like those made by Nauticam are incredible pieces of engineering, but they come with a price tag to match. Seafrogs have pretty much found a happy middle ground, 90% of the performance for a fraction of the price. They do this by making the body of the housing out of a high-quality polycarbonate instead of aluminium. Now, for some divers, this might be a deal breaker, but after years of using them, I find them surprisingly tough and reliable. Their newer Salted Line models like this one are especially good, with upgrades such as metal latches and a bigger viewing screen here incredibly welcome. You can check out my full review of these new models by clicking the link here, but the real magic for this setup is going to be this port. They make this port specifically for this 90mm lens and use optical glass to maintain that critical sharpness in images. Lighting is crucial for macro photography. The more light, the better. This is going to help you focus on incredibly tiny subjects. I've been using the Light & Motion 15K video lights for years now, but any decent underwater lights will do. Theory is one thing, but the pictures are what really matters. So let me show you what this exact combo can produce. Here's a shot of a nudie that I took during my first dive with this setup. This thing is barely a few millimeters long. Look at the texture on its back and the sharp focus on the little antennae. I shot this at f4.5 and a shutter speed of 1/250 because this guy was getting blown all over the place by the surge. You get an idea for the amazing detail that this lens can capture, along with a beautiful depth of field. Now check this one out, a baby stonefish, the most venomous fish in the sea. These guys are masters of camouflage and are notoriously hard to find. Because of the 90mm lens's working distance, I can hang back just a little bit and photograph it from a distance without spooking it. Check out the detail on the eye here. Now, you might not believe it, but I actually shot this image whilst freediving using only natural light. How's that for some image stabilization? And it's not just for the super tiny stuff. Here's a portrait of a dragon eel peeking out of a gorgonian. The background is beautifully blurred, and the bokeh is something that this lens does really, really well, making the subject pop. You can really see the personality in the eye of the eel and the details on those gnarly teeth. This is the kind of quality that people pay thousands and thousands of pounds for, yet it was taken on a very affordable setup. The detail is so good that you can crop in like crazy later and the quality is still amazing. Setting it all up is actually surprisingly easy. First up, let's talk about the lens. When you buy the port, there's actually a focus gear that comes with it. So if you want to do this in manual focus underwater, you can go ahead and do that. I've been running it in autofocus and had no problems with it so far. Next, we need to prep the housing. So first up, there's a screw on the inside that you need to take out. This is going to allow you to twist off the dome port, replace it with the macro port and put the screw back in. And just like that, we're ready to go. Now, the key to macro photography is light. You absolutely need one, preferably two. This lets you control the light around your subject, gets rid of ugly shadows, and brings back that vibrant color that you lose at depth. So this is how I have my light set up. One a little further away on an extended arm so that I can illuminate the background and the sides of my subject, and one closer in so that I can illuminate my subject directly if needed. Now, with lighting, it really is just a case of playing around and seeing what works for you, what kind of style you're going for with your images and videos. Finally, you have to get to know your settings. You want to shoot in manual mode and with a pretty low ISO to get the maximum image quality. You're going to want to run a faster shutter speed in order to freeze motion. And because we're using so much light, you've got the capability of shooting at 1/500 if you really want to. The aperture is going to be our main creative tool. Use those smaller apertures of f/16 or f/22 for maximum focus on smaller critters. Or if you're shooting portraits, keep it wide open for those nice blurry backgrounds. Now, it's taken me a lot of trial and error to figure all this out, and my aim is to make this learning curve as short as possible for you. So if you're finding this video helpful, make sure to drop it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more reviews and tips like this. And if you're using a budget setup like this, let me know in the comments below what gear you're running. Okay, so let's talk numbers, and this is really where this setup blows everything else out of the water and why I decided to make this video. A typical pro underwater housing can be brutally expensive, with aluminium housings running anywhere from £3,000 to £5,000. The specific macro port for that housing is then anywhere from £500 to £800. So before you've even thought about strobes or anything else, you're running upwards of £4,000 just to get wet. Now let's take a look at our setup. The Seafrogs housings for the Sony A7 series run anywhere from £500 to £700. Even cheaper if you use my discount code and the link in the description below. The dedicated macro port for our Sony 90mm lens is £150. So for less than £1,000, we've got a reliable, purpose-built housing with an optical glass port for the best lens that Sony makes for macro photography. The difference is just staggering, and you're looking at a £4,000 to £5,000 system versus a sub-£1,000 system purpose-built for macro photography. That money that you save on this setup can be put towards other things like lights, arms, trays, and more importantly, dive trips, so that you can get out and actually practice your photography. So there you go, the secret is out. You don't need to have a massive bank account in order to take professional looking underwater macro photos. The combination of the Sony 90mm macro lens along with this Seafrogs housing is a perfect combination and best value for money. It proves that if you choose your gear wisely, you can get around the financial gatekeeping around this hobby, and you can get down to creating the images that you've always dreamed of. A lot of people quit this hobby because they think it's just too expensive, but this setup proves them wrong. It's reliable, capable, and best of all, it's affordable. It puts incredible results within reach of any passionate diver, not just the wealthy one. I really hope that this video has encouraged you to not let price tags and high-end gear put you off underwater photography. The ocean is filled with tiny, beautiful things, and with a setup like this, you can actually afford to go photograph them. Thank you all for watching. If you've got any questions about this setup or your own potential setup, let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to all of them. Now go on, get out there and make some ocean magic.